A long time ago, I used to think that you needed a really large audience in order to make a bunch of cash online. And so when I first got started in the online marketing game way back in 2011, I assumed that I just needed a really, really big audience and then I'd just make money. Now, the opposite is actually true. I've learned to grow and monetize very, very small audiences over the years. And not just me, being able to help hundreds of students do the exact same thing with sometimes very, very tiny audiences. To give you an example, one of my students started cranking out $3,000 to $4,000 deals when he had just 43 people in his audience. Another one that crossed over $10,000 cash collected, and she had less than 80 people in her audience. How are we doing it? Well, I'm going to show you guys in this training today. So if this is the first time you and I have connected, welcome. My name is Jamie Gardiner. Since 2011, I've been an online marketer, covering everything from affiliate marketing, done agency stuff. I've tried and failed at pretty much everything, so you don't have to. If you're interested in staying up to date with what I'm covering, this is me just documenting what I've done in my business and what I am currently doing. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and feel free to drop any comments along the way. I always love getting that interaction from you guys just to know that I'm on the right track with what I'm producing here. All that being said, let's just dive straight into it. So your audience size doesn't matter at all. Here's exactly what does work. So here's the thing, why people with tiny audiences can at times make a lot more than people with big ones, right? So I've seen it play out many, many times where I'll see an influencer and they might have, say, 100,000 followers on Instagram, for example, and they're just waiting for brand deals. They maybe are looking to do a couple of shout outs here and there, but realistically, they're not really making that much cash. And I'm going to show you guys how you can start to deploy what I'm about to teach you to start to monetize your own audience if you've got one, or if you haven't got one, you'll be able to grow a small audience and start to monetize it that way. But this is going to go into the depths of that as well. So what we want to do is we want to go deep versus wide, right? And now what exactly do I mean by that? Get out of the way. Go, nice, get it. So deep versus wide. Now, sometimes an influencer might have 100,000 followers or subscribers, whatever. They have what I would call a wider audience. Now, of course, what it means is that if you're able to monetize a very small audience, when it does actually grow, you're going to be so much better suited to monetize at that point anyway, which is why I prefer being able to monetize a small audience. So why is that the case? A lot of the time they just have a really wide audience. It means that people might be getting entertainment from them. They might be, maybe just like some of the fashion that they have, things like that, but they don't necessarily know the person and know the ways that they can solve their problems. So what we want to do is basically start to reverse this process a little bit. And it's not about how many followers you have, it's about how many actually trust you enough to buy, right? Now that comes from being able to deliver and over deliver value to folks, as well as being able to clearly articulate to them that you are able to solve their problems, right? And that allows you to then build that trust enough in order to sell things that are those solution problems that I mentioned. So for example, 1,000 follower audience with high engagement, as in people are relating to them, they're engaging in their content, they're reading it, is going to out-earn a disengaged audience with 100,000 people in it every single time. Like I've seen it play out, and I'm sure you'll be nodding along at home thinking, yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, feel free to drop a comment if you have experienced that or seen it online where you see big, huge audiences and you know that they're not really doing that well, as opposed to a small creator like myself, they might be doing a lot better as a result. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. I wonder if this is going to work. Nice. Okay. So the power of the value first approach. Basically, what we want to do is flip the model on its head a little bit, and what we're going to do is basically try to make a good first impression. So are we showing up with the idea that we've just got something to sell? Now, by the way, there is nothing wrong with selling anything. In fact, you have to sell something in order to make money online. It's just whether that product is or service or whatever it is actually something that is of high value to the end user, right? So before you get to that point, you're actually trying to give them something in advance. So that can be some form of value, some form of knowledge that actually helps them along that pathway. And you got to think about how you're actually showing up. So I can think off the top of my head a few creators that I know that I can tell that they're really just trying to shortcut that pathway to get straight to the sale. They just want the money. It's like, yep, I don't care about that. Just how do I get the money? And you can see it in the way that they're presenting. You see it in the way that they're developing content, all that type of stuff. And they've got a me first approach, when in reality, you need to have a audience first approach, right? So the more value we can give away, the less selling you actually have to do later, okay? Because you're able to build trust. Now, I know for myself, there's a few creators I can think of off the top of my head, and they sometimes write some fairly elaborate sales pages, and I literally, as soon as I know price and what the problem is solving for me, I will scroll right down to the buy button and I will just hit that. I won't even. I will know roughly what I'm getting, but I don't really care about the finer detail sales copy along the way. And that is because I have consumed so much of these people's products and services and advice over the years that I just know anything that they produce is a no-brainer, and I won't even need to think about it because I know that it's going to resolve my problems, right? So that just gives you an example. The other thing to bear in mind is that the more marketing you're able to do, the more you're able to speak about how your product solves problems for people, the less impact it has on your sales anyway, right? So it means that it takes the leverage point over to your marketing because you're verbalizing it and articulating it in your content, both verbally, and written as well. So it means that you have to do less selling later, which is why I'm able to get away with selling high ticket programs through nothing more than a simple Google Doc and going back and forth in Messenger a couple of times. Really, really simple, really, really streamlined. No kind of like fancy things that I need. Bang, because I'm able to give that value up front. Right. Here's how tiny influencers can make more than tiny audiences can make. So most influencers, as I mentioned, they have a wide but shallow audience. So they get likes. They might be likable, they might be entertaining, but they're not really able to articulate in their content what problems that they're actually able to solve for folks. And as a result, they are unable to get those folks to raise their hand saying that they're interested in their products and services and all that type of stuff. And so what we aim to do is reverse it like that. So people buy from trusted advisors, not just from those with and that is why, like I say, so many of my students have been able to go out with almost no audiences whatsoever and build that trust really, really rapidly in order to then problems. So that's where the magic of personal connection and direct conversations comes in as well. So small audiences allow you to have personalized direct message conversations with people, allows you to build deeper connections and stronger trust as a result. And it's really interesting. Once I've got into some of the stuff before, I know that dealing with certain people, I can tell that they're opening up about certain things. And I'm not like doing anything nefarious with that information. I'm not like leveraging it against them. It just shows that I can tell in real time that I'm building trust with these people. Now, it might mean that I make an offer presentation and they go, hey, this is cool, but it's not, or they might ghost, or they might, just not get back to me. Completely cool. That's just part of the game. But at least I know that I'm able to resolve very, very specific problems for these people because they've actually told me in advance what they're struggling with, right? So we can leverage the conversation-based selling. So that's things like DMs, obviously, emails, comments. If you pay attention to some of the comments people are leaving, it gives a really good opening to figure out, okay, well, this is what they're actually struggling with, and this is how I can help them specifically with that. The problem with the online marketing game a lot of the time is people will put up a comment or a question in a forum or Facebook group, for example, and you get 30 people going, yeah, I've got the link, it's the best thing in the world. Yeah, my solution is the best thing in the world. And again, these folks don't have a you first approach. They've got a me first. And in doing so, they're probably going to repel any buyer anyway, right? So your competition is really not that much out there. That's my point that I'm trying to make. So what we also want to do is aim to pre-sell. And the way that we do that is by talking about the problems that our product or service or offering can resolve. So the way that you do that is basically by continually talking about the problem, number one, and highlighting that frustration and pain point that person has. And what you're aiming to do is move them from a state of problem to a solution awareness. So if they are aware of that problem, then they are agitated by that. It's frustrating for them. And then what you're aiming to do is go, hey, by the way, I also have the solution. When you step into my world, when you lock arms with me and my team or my service, whatever it is, this is how I alleviate that pain. It can happen really, really rapidly because of X, Y, Z, right? So you're trying to get them from that being unaware to problem aware and then over to solution aware, which then makes it really easy to go, hey, and here's my offer, here's the solution, which then means that you can get buyers basically, right? So the monetization comes from offering the right thing at the right time. Now, the timing thing is not something that gets spoken about all that often in online marketing, but you can't force timing, right? It just may not be the right time for someone. They might have had family problems, they might be moving house, they might have all sorts of stuff happening in their life that you just don't know about. And so you can engineer it to some degree, but it's never going to be perfect for absolutely everyone, right? And so I see a lot of marketers, what they'll do is go out and they're burning leads because they basically, instead of accepting that someone says, no, or they ghost them or whatever, they're like, well, fuck you, man. And they just, never follow up with them again. Whereas the other approach, I'm like, well, the relationship's not over. Just you didn't decide to come to my party on this occasion. Like maybe I'll have another party later on, and you can come to that one, right? Whereas I think a lot of marketers, they have this other approach where it's like, okay, you shun me and you're out of my world forever type stuff. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, well, you know what? That's cool. I appreciate you communicating with me, because now there's a mutual respect, because they said, hey, no thanks. This is not for me right now. Completely cool. No worries at all. Thank you so much for getting back to me. Bang, follow up later on. Or, hey, would you mind if I keep in touch anyway? Bang, follow up next quarter, see where they're at. Things like that. So you can, and as I mentioned, you can engineer these things to some degree, and that is purely by using timers, basically. So, when the end of the month is up, that's the last time you're going to accept people, whatever cohort or whatever producing at that point, right? So, hope that makes sense so far. Let me know in the comments. So, really, really simple 3-step process to monetize audiences, taking them from stranger to buyer in really rapid succession. Now, for those of you that don't know, I have historically leveraged communities to do this really well. And what I mean is basically, if you've got a Facebook group or a school community or whatever, they're just such a cool hub to have where people will give you the data on what they're looking for in advance, right? So one of the ways that I've been able to monetize very small, like say what I teach inside my programs, is basically if someone arrives into your Facebook and they're like, cool, I'm here, this is brilliant. And you're like, cool, welcome. You've actually got 3 questions that you can ask. Number one, I always ask, what's the number one thing you'd like? I then say, hey, I've got this lead magnet thing and it's really freaking cool and it showed 1 billion people how to do X, Y, Z. I can reach out in the DMs to deliver it if you like. Sure. Sometimes some people will capture email addresses at this point, so they're building their list. I don't do that. I actually capture them before they enter group itself. The other thing is that you can just say, hey, by the way, I've helped XYZ entrepreneurs do XYZ result. Would you like some information on how I help people? Right, so that's kind of like a little call to action. So you're basically looking for the hand raisers as soon as they jump into your community. Because the thing is, although most people will not be ready immediately, every now and then you're going to get that person who's like, yep, you're the person I've been looking for. Giddy up, let's get started. And that's happened. You've been able to turn a complete stranger into 3 to 5K deals in around about 20 seconds. Whereas they jump into my group, they start consuming all my content. They're like, this is the person that can solve that issue for me. I'm going to choose to work with them, right? So anyway, a little bit of a sidetrack there, but hopefully that helps you guys out. It's really, really powerful. This is why I still love groups, and I don't really do much with mine anymore at the moment. So step number 1, build relationships with your audience through value-based content, right? So like I said before, one of the goals as a marketer is you're aiming to take people through the states or stages of awareness. So you've got unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and then most aware. I always get that order messed up, but I got it right that time. So that is from Eugene Schwartz, so Breakthrough Advertising. Anyway, with that in mind, our goal as marketers is we are taking people that already have a problem and they already are aware of that problem. We want to make sure that they become solution aware. So they are like, okay, cool, well, this is my problem. I am not making money, or I'm a coach or a consultant or whatever, and I don't have a mechanism to get buyers on repeat. I don't have a mechanism to customers on. That is the problem I'm currently facing. Okay, cool. So that's their problem, number 1. And so therefore, your solution may be, like it is in my situation with my Monetize Your Tribe program, where I'm like, hey, by the way, what I do with people inside my Monetize Your Tribe program is I help them simplify their offer so that they can run their coaching or consulting business in a few days per week of work days, as it were. They have a leverage process to attract buyers on the front end, and without having to hop on endless sales calls all day, every day, we can ascend some of those people to our back-end offers, which is going to get us both recurring and high-ticket income at the same time, right? So now, all of a sudden, bang, they're aware of that solution, okay? So, but we do this by talking about the pain points, talking about the frustrations, talking about the things that we know intimately about these people from a marketing and problem perspective, as it were, right? So that's number 1. If someone feels hurt because we can articulate to them what they are experiencing, the pain, the frustration that they're experiencing, while simultaneously letting them know that, hey, by the way, I've got this thing over here that actually resolves that issue for you. But before we get onto that, let me just help you out first. Let me give you some value up front, such that if my offer is the right pathway for you, then you know that I can solve that problem for you, right? So that builds a ton of that trust and whatnot along the way. Step number 2, solve for one specific problem, a big, huge problem that I have both done myself in my own coaching business, and I've also experienced it. I've actually gone through this recently, funnily enough, where, after 14 years of doing this stuff, I've been an affiliate. I've tried CPA marketing. I've put things on Kindle. I've had multiple e-commerce stores. I'm about to crank up another one now as well, funnily enough. I've written newsletters. I've written copy for all sorts of different client types. I've worked for offline businesses and online businesses. I've done a bunch of stuff. I've coached hundreds of people. I've, you name it, right? And I don't say that with a sense of ego, by the way. What I'm trying to get at there is sometimes when you've done a bunch of stuff, your knowledge, whilst specialized, is actually very broad. So one of the things I've battled with in my mind is I don't take sales calls anymore. But at the same time, I think, well, I could take sales call every now and then. I don't mind jumping on a call. So therefore, I can't. One of the issues I've had with my offer is like I can't just be the guy that doesn't do sales calls. And when I'm saying, hey, I've got this no call conversion code where you can sell high ticket without sales calls, keep your calendar clear, blah blah blah. And then there's part of me that, oh yeah, but it might be nice to jump on a call again. So therefore, like I say, it has been something that I've battled with in recent times. Now, why am I saying that? Because I know from my own teachings, my own learnings, my own things that I've been through in this game for a very long time is that you're always better off solving for one specific problem. And although it's very, very tempting, as it was for me recently, to go and broaden my horizons and say, I want to be, what was that joke? The Buddhist goes up to the hot dog stand, make me one with everything, right? And so although it's very tempting to go, yeah, but I can help that person that way, I can help that person, you're better off solving for one specific. And what you'll do is you'll get better at solving that, number one. You also very, very acutely attract those people that want that particular problem solved, which means they can monetize to an easier degree than if you were trying to be everything to everyone, so to speak. Number three is to guide them towards an offer using content that naturally leads to the sale, right? And so what I mean by that is it's actually really straightforward. Basically, if you are able to either verbally articulate or write through your content that you understand the person's problem, that you can feel what their pain is actually like and what it's doing to them and their business, all that type of stuff, and you can articulate that there is actually a solution on the other side of that and there is a way out, and you can present that like, hey, I've got this thing, this is what I do for folks, and this is how I've been able to resolve this same issue for other people that are in a very similar situation to yourself. Now, all of a sudden, when you combine that with natural deadlines, such as, hey, by the way, I'm only taking people on before now and the end of the month, would you like some information on that? Or, hey, by the way, between now and the end of the week, I've got 3 spots left to do XYZ, who's interested, etc., etc. Then all of a sudden, bang, you've got sales, right? Now, you can also do things like using supply and demand by capping out the supply that you have available, which tends to happen naturally as well, by the way. It's not something that you kind of like just make up in some sort of scammy way. It's usually because you can't take on thousands of clients all at once, especially if you're doing one-on-one or even close-knit group coaching. Sure, you have scalability with the group stuff, but if you're doing like I do, sometimes I do onboarding calls and things like that, you run out of mental bandwidth, you run out of room in your week, right? So there is actually a natural scarcity at play. Now, for me, I typically go with 3 to 5. I just like those numbers. 5 tends to work really well. Make your choice about what you'd like to do, whether it's 3 or 5 or 2, whatever. And that's it. That's pretty much it, right? So all that being said, what I encourage you guys to do is basically, if you open up your minds enough to accept that, yeah, you can monetize a very small audience. You don't need to have thousands of followers to go viral, to even really be that good at communicating. I don't think I'm great at these YouTube videos, even though I've done thousands of them now. But here I am. I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to help you guys out. And that's it. It's because of my joy of wanting to help folks that I'm able to monetize and keep doing this stuff over and over. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, if this has been of value, love for you to hit the subscribe, hit the like, drop a comment. Let me know anything you'd like to learn moving forward. Other than that, thanks so much, guys. Really, really appreciate you, and I will catch you.